Chargers Central podcast here. Happy Victory Monday. How's it going, Levon?
It's going good. Always good on Victory Monday. How about you?
Yeah. Just happy with the domination on Sunday, man.
Yeah. It seems like a special team this year. It's just something different, just a culture. It's just, we've said this from the start of the season. It's just different. And I was just looking at a stat, defensive points allowed. We are at 101 currently. The Steelers are second at 119. And then third is the Chiefs, 123, but Chiefs haven't played yet this week. They're playing tonight. And then I think fourth was the Bears at 148, just to show how good this defense has actually been this year. I mean, they've been exceptional, over exceptional. They've been great. Words can't describe it.
Yeah, and a couple of those touchdowns the defense gave up were questionable. There was a toe tap one last game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about, but man, that offense was hot coming in. Jameis Winston put up a lot of points against the Ravens, beat the Ravens. So we were concerned about that. But these rookie corners, man, Steele and Cam Hart, they showed up big time. And we were getting sacks, getting pressure. This defense, man, you could see that whole stadium. They were just deflated.
Yeah.
And just awesome to see. And the offense, getting on track. And QJ stepping up for his best game ever, over 100 yards, touchdown. Love to see it.
Yeah. People were saying QJ, that pass that he caught, they were afraid that he was going to drop it. And I was like, this year he hasn't really shown that he's last year's QJ. He's a different player this year. So I wasn't really concerned about it. Just really happy for him that, he's getting his career off on the right track. I mean, this is just his second year. So give the guy a chance. It's not like it's his fourth or fifth year. He's only going to grow and develop from here. So he's played well this year, very well. Better than I think most expected him to play. And it really showed the difference of him on the field, the offense collectively, compared to him off the field. Because off the field, we're like, okay, we need wide receiver help. But now it's like, okay, maybe not, but we definitely need interior O-line help.
Yeah.
And Herbert was just getting killed out there yesterday, still somehow making those passes. And last week we were saying how it would be tougher to run the ball this against the Browns compared to throwing the ball. He found two wide open guys in Johnson and Palmer yesterday, Herbert. But J.K. Dobbins, he did a great job too. Like first half, he started off a bit slow. Then that touchdown, then the other touchdown. And it's like, dude, this is a great defense, rush defense. And they just held Derrick Henry to, I think, one touchdown and it was like 64 yards or something. And Dobbins had, I believe, 85 yards around there and two touchdowns. So props to Dobbins. And the offense just played very well. It's just that interior O-line, I don't know.
I know they gave up 6 sacks.
Yeah.
And it's scary because, you see Herbert getting rolled back. Like, is he going to get injured again? And then the season's over, Well, I mean, you got Heineke, you got a chance. But
I think yesterday, for the first time, we said, okay, maybe Joe Alt played well yesterday. Wasn't his best game, though.
No.
Same with Rashawn Slater. And we spoke about this last week, how good Myles Garrett is. He showed it on Sunday. I'm not that much concerned about Slater and Alt. More concerned about the interior O-line. And now it begs the question, what do you do in the trade deadline? Do you trade for an interior O-line guy? Or do you ride this offensive line out and get a receiver? I mean, they look good yesterday. And Chark, I think it was smart to keep him out yesterday, only because you have 3 home games coming up. And you can have him, get back in his stride at home. Then they hit the road in week 13. Also against the Titans next week should be a win, right? So I think it was smart to keep Chark out yesterday and get him going Sunday. But yeah, that's the question now. Do you get O-line help or do you get receiver help?
Yeah, well, Ortiz is always, he's always looking on the trade market. He's not Tom Telesco who's just gonna sit back, not doing
Yeah.
anything. I think he'll be looking for deals, but if he doesn't get one he likes, he's not going to force it.
Right. And I think that's smart, because we've seen deals being forced and just didn't work out that year. And then that's it. They don't get back on track. And there was a guy on X the other day, and this guy, he's hilarious. He, during the offseason, when we hired Harbaugh, used to say, oh, they're going to trade Herbert and draft J.J. McCarthy. And now the same guy is saying, we're going to trade for DK Metcalf for a Super Bowl run.
Yeah. I saw that. This guy, I think he's just trying to get engagement. Like, I don't believe he's serious about half the stuff he says. He says
Yeah.
other outlandish stuff. Yeah. We would all love DK Metcalf, but it's not going to happen.
I don't see it happening. I mean, the Seahawks are what, 4-5, 4-4. They're, I think, tied with the Rams in that division for second. So I don't see that happening. I think yesterday it showed, and now the media is starting to, admit that this is a dangerous team.
Yeah.
And we used to never get that respect, nationally, especially. And now they've opened their eyes and going, yeah, this is legit. This team is legit. And like you were saying, Jameis Winston killed the Ravens. Nick Chubb isn't a scrub. He came back from injury, I know. We shut him down yesterday. And the biggest test, I think, for this team will be the Ravens. And if this team can shut down Derrick Henry, I don't know who's going to be able to beat this team. Truly, I don't, in the playoffs. Because even Fulton was out yesterday, and they still shut down Winston. Yeah, Tillman got that touchdown catch, but that was at the very end. The game was already done. So,
yeah, the Ravens are going to be a tough test because, like the announcers kept saying the other day, we're not stacking the box against the run. We're playing it light so that we can defend the pass, and it worked against Chubb. Chubb is a tough physical back, but when you get Derrick Henry, what are you going to do?
right.
That's the question. The only good thing about that game is you're not playing the old Ravens defense. It's like we have the old Ravens defense, and they're not that anymore.
And they have the old Chargers defense, basically.
Yeah. So that'll be a great test. Can't wait for that. But yeah, and Tennessee, that should be a win, but you can never take it for granted in the NFL. They still have Calvin Ridley. They have
Tony
Mason
Pollard.
Rudolph, who made it to the playoffs with the Steelers.
I mean, look, Rudolph is an upgrade over Levis. Rudolph could be a starter on other teams as well this year. Cough, cough, the Raiders. So he's decent. And definitely don't take that matchup lightly. You got to play up to your potential, not to theirs. And we've seen in the past them screw up, against weak teams like this. So far, we haven't seen that this year, which is good. And we're taking advantage of these easier matchups right now. This is probably our last quote-unquote easy matchup until we hit week 17 against the Patriots. So we got to get this win. Other than that, we're in good position right now to make the playoffs. And that Ravens matchup could be huge. I mean, it's prime time, Monday night, 3 days before Thanksgiving. Harbaugh against Harbaugh. Dobbins and Edwards facing off against their old team. There's just so many storylines here. It's going to be a great matchup. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and we can take a look at the playoff picture here, just to see. So currently, Chargers are number 6. The Broncos slid down after that loss. yesterday. So
Yeah, beat bad. It was
yeah,
like 41-10.
yeah, yeah. The Ravens just destroyed them.
Yeah. I mean, I like our chances. Colts lost yesterday, which was huge for us.
Mhm.
They're 4-5 now. Bengals, I believe they're 4-5. I can't really see, but I believe they're four and
Yeah,
five.
4-5. Yeah,
And they haven't even looked that good. The Bengals defensively, they're pretty bad. Yeah, they beat the Raiders yesterday, but at this point, anybody can. And T. Higgins is out, so if Higgins is not playing against the Chargers, it's gonna be very tough for them to beat us. Even if he is, it's gonna be tough for them to beat us because of those corners that we have. They're just incredible. Jets, I think they'll make a late push.
hmm
Um, it's going to be very hard for me to imagine the playoffs without Rodgers and Adams in it. They could take that 7th spot. Other than that, I don't see much here. Colts don't even know who their starting quarterback is going to be, and Flacco looked mediocre yesterday. So I don't see any of these other teams making a push.
yeah. It's interesting to see the Titans at
Yeah,
number 11 here.
yeah,
Um, you would think the Dolphins would get some more wins with Tua now. Yeah, and the Bengals are always kind of dangerous, but that's why that home game against the Bengals is so big.
right,
We can really put some distance between them.
right. Yeah, that's a huge game. That's another winnable game that you can't, take it. You can't, take it lightly, because again, you have some games here coming up against the Ravens in Kansas City. I believe Tampa Bay we play later on. So and Mike Evans will probably be back by then. So there are some tough games. We play the Broncos later in the season, and that's a Week 16 game, so that could really be a deciding factor. But at that point, who knows what might happen? We might be all the way ahead of the Broncos because the Broncos' schedule is not getting any easier. So they play some tough teams. Ideally, here, I think Ravens move to third. I don't see the Steelers winning that division. I think Ravens move to third. Ideally, here we play the Texans. I'm a big fan of CJ Stroud, but without Stephon Diggs, that's a huge target for him.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for him, and that defense doesn't look that good. So if we play the Texans, it's also closer for us, like to travel there to Houston. So that would, be the ideal matchup there. But, obviously, I've been saying this since last year. I want to avoid Buffalo, at least wild card round. But yeah, I think we have a good chance in the first round, assuming Chiefs stay in first. Which if they win tonight, I think they will stay in first.
Yeah.
But I think it's a favorable matchup. Either we play the Texans, hopefully not Baltimore, but if we play Pittsburgh, if Pittsburgh's still up there as a divisional leader, I don't mind playing them in Pittsburgh. I know we lost that first time, but I don't think that'll matter in the playoffs.
No, it was it was an even game until all the injuries hit us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and Harbaugh would come prepared for a rematch.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I kind of don't mind playing some of these teams, like even Baltimore, because we're going to play them week 12. Those adjustments being made are going to be crucial. And then the most interesting one is going to be if we get out of the wild card, get into the divisional, and play the Chiefs. We already saw them twice. By then, there's going to be a lot of adjustments made for that game, so it'll be really fun getting out of that wild card. But just them giving us nearly an 80% chance to make the playoffs right now is big in and of itself. Remember where we were last year this time? We weren't even thinking about the playoffs. So just a huge upgrade, and yeah, they are delivering for us.
Yeah, or already as many wins, 5 wins as
Yeah.
all of last year with, half the season to go.
Yeah.
So this defense has just been incredible, and it looks like Joey Bosa might be getting healthier. We had a scare with Khalil Mack,
Yeah.
he said he's going to be okay. Uh,
And it begs the question now. We play the Titans Sunday. Should be a win. Do you limit both Mac?
mm,
Because yesterday the game was done more or less in that fourth quarter, and the
yeah,
starters were still out there. So it's like, okay, maybe they just want to build chemistry, but you run that risk of injury.
yeah, it doesn't seem like that's Harbaugh's style to rest
Yeah.
guys, but yeah, we'll see. I mean,
Even just limit him, have a
yeah,
snap count or something, just because you're going to need him down the stretch. And if he's injured, it's going to be very difficult to get to the quarterback.
yeah. That's true. And we've been talking about Thule. Thule has been stepping up
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah.
Getting sacks, getting pressures, being solid in the run defense. Yeah. Um,
Also, Troy Dye yesterday made some
yeah.
big plays. That big hit on Tillman. Um, I hate seeing those types of hits just because at the end of the day the guy's a human. But it's just a big play for the team because that just gets the team going. And also Deion Henley. I mean, I've spoken about him before too. Like, he's just a monster. He's everywhere on the field, and kind of like how Derwin was, in his day and age of rookie sophomore type of year. Deion Henley's incredible, and I think he could be that glue that this defense was missing. And if Staley had given him a chance last year, we could have seen him play last year, but obviously he didn't. So I'm glad to see him out there because he's been big for this team.
He has, and I think he was a little bit banged up the last game too. So hopefully he's okay. Colston as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only thing that can stop this defense. It seems like is injuries, and even then we keep plugging in new guys,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
made that trade for Molden, and he comes up with the pick
And we gave him a 7th round pick.
seventh. Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah,
Molden's been huge. This whole defense just they are just clicking. The defensive tackles, they've been great. They're just clicking. And last year we talked about Bosa, Mack, Derwin. This year's everybody on that defense, and I think that's the difference. And then a leader like Perriman leading that inside linebacker room, that makes a difference too. So come playoff time, I'm starting to get really confident in this team. Um, and I don't expect to see a Jacksonville type of letdown as we saw 2 years ago. But just making into the wild card is already big for us after just 5 wins last year. That's already a huge improvement for us. But just keep doing what you're doing defensively, and then offensively, that O line they need to wake up. I'm not talking about Slater and all because that's just a one-off.
yeah.
Every good O lineman has an off day, and that's understandable. But the other guys, just they got to step up.
Yeah, yeah, and you think that the fire of that last game, that dirty play where Bozeman comes to protect him, you think maybe that would light a fire under them.
Yeah,
Didn't work. It's it could just be a talent issue at this point. I mean,
I think
because
so.
you're getting the coaching, the coaching is there. So it's like
And
maybe they just can't do it.
yeah, and even last year with Trey Pipkins, we had this problem,
Yeah.
and I was surprised to see him back on the team. So maybe that's where we upgrade during the deadline. The question is, do we give up picks or do we give up a player? And I wouldn't give up a player right now if we're not getting a receiver, let's say, in return.
Well, Ortiz tries to keep those picks, close to his vest because he was so darn good this last draft.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
hit on almost every pick, into the late rounds. It's like, yeah, you want to keep as many of those picks as you can. Um, yeah, my only other question about the defense is if someone can figure him out, if like the Ravens, nobody's been able to figure out this Jesse Minter defense yet. If
Yeah.
the Ravens find something that works and the rest of the league picks up on it, you know,
I mean, yesterday with Deontay Johnson was on a snap count, and they just poured 41 points on Denver. I still think their wide receiver one over there is Zay Flowers. Even if he sees less targets, it'll be more efficient receptions. And what I mean by that is, not 1 or 2 yards, 15, 20 yards catches, because Johnson's now going to take the target off Zay and onto himself because he's the wide receiver one, but also lines up on the outside where Zay can play in the slot. Well, Johnson can too, but I don't think they're going to switch Zay out. Also, he's smaller, so they're going to have to play him in the slot. So I think stopping him is going to be the key for the Chargers. And, of course, stopping the run. Those are the two things for this team. It's Zay going off, which we've seen happen 5 times now this season, I think. And then the run, just killing defenses. So you might have to kind of customize the defense in a way that is specifically for the Ravens because they've just been that good. And if we don't see them in the wild card, we don't see them until the championship game, which I'm very happy about. But of course, we have to get through the Chiefs. So that's another story with Pacheco back. Yeah. But, I think if they can pull it off against Baltimore, even if it's by 1 point, doesn't matter. That goes a long way for this team.
Yeah. Yeah. And you look at every game going in with this defense, they have a shot. And with Justin Herbert, playing so well, just he's getting beat up and he's still throwing amazing passes that only he can make, and and finding the open guy. The announcers kept talking about how good that Cleveland defense is, and they were good. They just had a few little lapses, and Justin Herbert found them.
Yeah, I mean they held the Ravens at 21 points.
Yeah,
they're a damn good defense. Yeah, just because they had one slip up, the reason they slipped up, okay, let's give credit to the offense, is because of how good that offense played. O-line, was bad, but other than that, they played well. The offense. Dobbins, again, they shut down Derrick Henry. They've shut down a lot of running backs this year. But Dobbins managed to find the holes in that defense and take advantage of it. And we saw it twice with the touchdowns. Herbert, finding those guys wide open with that limited time to throw is not easy. And Ladd had, 5 catches yesterday? It seemed like Johnson, was the wide receiver one yesterday. So that's why it's like, okay, maybe with Chark coming back too, and we don't even need Chark to be that kind of big type of receiver. We just need him as a deep threat. Yeah. And you have also Rieger, which you can use every now and then. You might be set here receiver-wise. And the reason I say that is because you can go out and get Mike Will. You can go out and get T. Higgins. But unfortunately, both those guys are injury prone. So if you get them and they get injured, then what? You just gave up draft capital or a player that you could have used, and that's always a risk, I know. But especially with guys like that, I don't know if it's worth the risk.
Yeah. And like you said, this offense is coming together, putting up 27 points against a really good defense.
Yeah.
And they just seem like they're hitting their stride, except for that darn middle of the O-line,
I don't know. I think Trey Pipkins needs to go. Like, he has no value right now to trade, obviously. It's just that position needs to change. Zion Johnson's still young. I think he's younger than Pipkins. Let's see if he can develop a little bit.
Zion is good in the run blocking. It's just, it's like he has trouble picking up stunts.
Yeah.
Guys are getting free too often. It's like, what's going on here? This is a very intelligent guy,
Yeah,
in
and
real
he's
life.
huge, like, he's not as
Yeah,
big as Alt, obviously, but he's a big guy.
yeah,
He shouldn't be being moved that quickly and that easily.
yeah.
So I think I wanna give him a chance still. It's just, the fans, I know they're craving a playoff win, and it's like, "Okay, we can get it. We just need this little tweak here," whether it's either on the right or the left side of the O-line, right guard or left guard. I think you're that tweak away from getting that playoff win at the very least.
I,
Um,
I
and
think even without it, you have a shot to
you
get that
do,
win
you
because
do.
this defense is so good and
Yeah,
Herbert's so good.
yeah. It's just getting there, man. Like, just the amount of pressures yesterday
Yeah,
on Herbert. It's like, is this guy even going to be able to make it to the playoffs?
yeah,
I don't know. I think that's where you got to focus on in the deadline. And I'm glad that Johnson came back when he did, because now we can look at this and go, okay, maybe receivers are okay. Maybe the O-line is where we have to work during the deadline. And the deadline's approaching. I'm not sure exactly what day it is, but it's coming soon. So they got to make a move quick.
yeah. And you got to know Harbaugh is fixated on the O line. From the moment he came here, he said that the O line is the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
He knows how important that is.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure
Oh, I
Joe
know.
Ortiz knows that as well. It's just if there's a deal out there that makes sense, because teams don't like trading O line.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Who's even available?
Yeah,
It's like it's just a type of position where you have to get them in the off season. And like the Chiefs, they got Creed Humphrey during the off season. They got that whole line a lot better. Yeah, they make a lot of mistakes, especially that right tackle. I can't remember his name.
yeah,
That guy does anything and everything on that field that should be called a penalty and nothing.
yeah.
I don't, and that game, that Week 14 game, that primetime game, I'll tell you right now, we're gonna be screwed by those refs
Oh yeah,
every turn.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you just have to plan for it. Like
Yeah,
you know
somehow
it's
go
coming.
around it and beat that. And man, defensive and offensively, both. We're just gonna get hit both ways.
Yeah, and they do it at the most inopportune times for us too. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
uh yeah,
And like
but
you said, even if you run up the deficit against them, doesn't matter. They're not gonna let you. They're gonna just start calling those penalties, and it's like clockwork. I don't understand how people don't see it.
yeah,
Every single game it happens. We'll see it tonight too, probably. If Baker can hang on against that team without his main receivers, we'll see it tonight.
yeah. Well, there are people who see it. I see posts that gain tons of traction all the time about showing the crazy calls that happen.
Yeah,
Like the Chiefs again, they're getting that call. Uh, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but what are you gonna do? All you can do is what you can control, and I love the chemistry on this team. Man. Did you
yeah.
see the video the Chargers put out of the doing the game balls? Harbaugh doing the game balls. Yeah, like you can just see it how much these guys love each other, love their coach, and want to play for each other, and the
And that's what it's all about.
enthusiasm. Yeah,
That's what it's all about. And we didn't see that last year. Remember, like last year, we were sitting here talking about this and going, these guys don't want to play under Staley. Austin Eckler was done. Derwin James was done. Justin Herbert was on the verge of being done. And imagine Justin Herbert, the way he is, his personality, him being fed up with someone takes a lot.
yeah,
Just knowing his personality. And that's how bad Staley was last year. And we had 5 wins. Yeah, Herbert got hurt, Keenan Allen got hurt, all of that. We get it. We've had injuries this year too. They're still winning. And it's that cultural change that made the difference. Jesse Minter, Jim Harbaugh, and even Greg Roman. As much as people have been bashing on Roman, he's letting Herbert throw now a little bit more, and we're getting the wins. So
yeah. He's adjusted. He's not just banging his head against the wall like
yeah.
Staley would do. Doing the same things over and over again that didn't work on offense and defense. By the
Mhm.
way, yeah, Roman is adjusting. I'm sure they still want the running game to perform even better.
Yeah.
But like you said, it was a good run game against Cleveland. You know, Dobbins did find some holes and make some good plays. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm
And
sure that they'd love at least over 100 yards rushing, you know, every game.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think when Gus gets back, and he could be back against the Titans, possibly because, like we were talking about last week, I think he went to the IR week 6.
yeah,
Week 6. So that should, yeah, he should be on track to make the return either Sunday or next Sunday against the Bengals. I prefer next Sunday because this should be a win
yeah,
this Sunday. But when he comes back, Dobbins kind of slips back to his week 1 through 5 role or 4 role. And we saw what he did weeks 1 and 2 with the 100-yard games. And then even week 3, yeah, it was a tough defense, but, he was able to get some stuff out of it. Uh, find some holes through that defense. And now it seems like he's coming back to his zone. Played well against the Saints, played well against the Browns, and likely will play well against the Titans. That Titans defense is pretty good. Um, Statistically, they've been pretty good. It's just, I don't know what it is with that team. They can't click for whatever reason. Like, they have the talent. They have Ridley. They have Pollard. Spears, I don't think is going to play. I think he's out. But Rudolph is a much better quarterback than Levis. And it's like, we'd rather face Levis and Watson, and we're facing neither.
yeah.
But, like we beat Winston, I think we'll be able to get to Rudolph as well.
Yeah, and you know, when Gus finally does come back, that's going to be good for Herbert too.
Yeah.
If you know, if you're pounding the ball, running more, you know, you're not putting Herbert in danger
Yeah.
by throwing so often like they've had to do. You probably will go back to, you know, scoring a bit less maybe if you're running more, but
Yeah.
just get these wins.
That's all that
That's all.
matters.
Yeah,
And I see people picking up Herbert in fantasy football leagues because, like, there's a statistic where it shows a percentage of people who have rostered him and started him, and that's ticking up. And I was like, why would you even drop him? Especially in a 2 quarterback league, but even in a 1 quarterback league, just keep him on the bench because of times like this. Like the last 3 weeks, he's shown what he is capable of, and we all know what he's capable of. So just now with these receivers back, Johnson back, Palmer's getting more involved, and then Chark coming back, that's his crew now. His
yeah.
crew is back. So
Yeah, and watch out if Chark actually does make those downfield plays. Like Herbert's going to start having some bombs again, and
oh,
then yeah, and then teams are really in trouble. What are
yeah,
they going to do? You know, you're getting these long bombs, and then you got a defense that won't let you score. You know.
yeah, yeah. It's just the best of both worlds type of thing for the Chargers right now. We just have to ride this high horse and keep going because you can get to 7 wins by the time you play the Ravens, and then at least 2 more against the Raiders and the Patriots.
Patriots.
That's 9.
Yeah.
Broncos, you should be able to beat. You beat them in Denver. It should be an easier win, not being in Mile High and all that. That's 10. You're good with 10, but let's get more. Like, I want more. Let's get to at least that 5th seed in the playoff seedings. It'll change. I don't think that's going to stay the way it is. It'll change. Texans could stay 4th because of the Diggs injury. They're still a dangerous team. Don't get me wrong, but it's just in terms of our fan base being here and the flight being closer than it would be to Pittsburgh or Buffalo or Baltimore. You could get a good amount of fans in Texas for that game. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to whatever wild card matchup there is. Just the fact that we're talking about the wild card matchup is already big because, again, last year this time we weren't even thinking about that. So one game at a time, but looking ahead, it looks good.
It does. It does. But subscribe, smash that like button. We're yeah, we can't wait to see what happens. And Underdog Fantasy promo code Bolt. I'll match up to $1,000. Get Herbert in there. Get dark horse DJ Chark maybe. Yeah, and we'll be back on Thursday to give our Titans preview.
Yep.
All right.
See you guys.
See you.